Do you ever feel like the government is treating your hard-earned tax dollars like monopoly paper? Well, if you do, brace yourself, because what I'm about to share with you will definitely piss you off. While the federal government hemorrhages trillions of dollars into debt and somehow finds the cash to fund the most bizarre and mind-numbing projects around the world. So if you thought the government waste was just about overpriced office furniture and bureaucratic red tape, then think again. In this video, I'm going to talk about 5 extremely insane ways that our tax dollars has been thrown into a financial black hole. And believe me, it's going to surprise you just as much as it surprised me. Let's talk about this. I want to take a quick minute, share some thoughts in reference to just a couple interesting ways that the United States government has found ways to completely waste taxpayer fundings all around the world. When I came across some of these articles, really had me in shock as to how ridiculous some of these projects that Uncle Sam has been funding. And so one of the main reasons I put this together is just to further highlight how insane this world we're living in really has become, because there's very little respect for this currency that has worked so hard for. And so as always, if you guys want to see more of these little quick takes, definitely hit that thumbs up button to show your support for the channel. And if you find any of these examples I'm going to give extremely odd, drop a comment down below, or if you know of any other ways that government wastes funds, definitely love to hear that. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe so you never miss an update. And so before I actually get into the 5 examples I want to tell you about, let me share something else with you in reference to today's sponsor. You know what really bothered me most about the whole TikTok ban debate? Is that the government is acting like they care about our data privacy. But little do you know that you can actually go online to data brokers right now and have a chance to buy anybody's personal data. And it's completely legal. While all this is happening, even big companies with weak security are getting hacked all the time. And that means our private data is exposed to scammers and identity thieves. And yet nobody gets punished for it. So if the government really cared about our data, as well as protecting our privacy, why aren't they cracking down on this type of activity instead of talking about trying to save us from our data being stolen by other nations? And all of this makes no sense. So since the government won't protect us, we got to protect ourselves. And that's why I use Aura, which is today's sponsor. See, the good news is that Aura does all the hard work for you. They actually find data brokers that selling your information and submit opt-out requests on your behalf, as well as monitoring the dark web and alerting you if your personal data is exposed. They even detect if identity thieves are attempting to actually access your information so that no one can actually use your info to hack your accounts. And one of the benefits of using the service is also that you get a VPN with over 100 plus virtual locations for extra privacy. And if the worst comes to worst, they even provide up to $5 million of identity theft insurance. And so you can try it for free 14 days at aura.com/Mike, and that'll be enough time to see if yours has already been exposed. Trust me, you definitely will want to know that. So stop leaving yourself vulnerable to data breaches and the brokers. Go to my sponsor at aura.com/Mike to get a 14-day free trial and see if any of your data has been exposed. So let's dive right into these 5 insane ways that our government has thrown our nation's tax dollars right down the black hole. Number 1, did you know that the Biden administration spent $15 million in taxpayer funds providing condoms for Afghanistan men? Yes, you read that correctly. While the U.S. government insists that there's no money for border security, it somehow scraped together $15 million to distribute condoms and oral contraceptives into Afghanistan, where the Taliban is now in full control and enforces brutally oppressive laws against women there. And that's all thanks to the previous administration on how the Biden regime exited that country, which was seen as a predictable and yet preventable disaster. What's even more infuriating was that the $15 million part of a much bigger package that the average person don't even know about. In the same article, it says the money was part of a whopping $100 million package for the Middle Eastern country to support the basic rights and freedoms of women and girls who were living under Taliban rule. And that's a country where basically rights no longer exist. So while Americans struggle to afford groceries, our tax dollars are being funneled into a failed nation building project that should have ended when the U.S. military withdrew. But then again, what do you really expect? And the second way Uncle Sam been wasting taxpayer dollars. This story here is out of the Daily Mail within the UK. And did you know that almost $50 million worth of condoms was sent to Gaza? As it says here, Trump blocks staggering foreign aid projects from $50 million in condoms for Gaza and trans operations in Colombia. What in the world is Uncle Sam doing paying for condoms all around the world and trans operations on top of that? So as if the Afghanistan fiasco wasn't bad enough, the Biden administration almost sent $50 million worth of condoms to Gaza, a region currently in a full-blown war. Apparently the Palestinians under Hamas rule really need right now is probably more humanitarian aid and medical supplies or infrastructure repair, not necessarily condoms. And it's amazing that this crazy allocation of funds was only caught at the last minute, but it begs the question, how much other taxpayer money has already been wasted on similar nonsense? And the third craziest expenditure by Uncle Sam, a $10,000 ice skating drag show related to climate change. Here's a recent report from Fox News that says drag shows, Arabic Sesame Street, and lonely rats. GOP senator details how Biden spent $1 trillion on government waste. So if you thought taxpayer-funded drag queen story hours were bad, get ready for this one. According to Rand Paul, the Biden administration forked out $10,000 for an ice skating drag show about climate change. Yes, you heard that correct. Drag show and climate change, all all linked together. In this article, it says the 2020 Festivus Waste Report found that Biden-Harris administration spent over $1 trillion, including giving a $10,000 grant to Beards on Ice, an ice skating drag show on climate change put on by Bearded Ladies Cabaret, a self-described queer cabaret art organization. So that show, titled Beards on Ice, was performed by Bearded Ladies Cabaret. Could you imagine that? Because nothing says climate awareness like a taxpayer-funded cross-dressing figure skating performance. And the fourth crazy expenditure provided by Uncle Sam around the world is $20 million for an Iraqi Sesame Street spinoff. Here in that same article that's included in that $1 trillion package put together during the Biden administration, it says, additionally, the Agency of International Development, or D, spent $20 million on a Sesame Street spinoff show in Iraq titled Iraqi Sesame in an effort to promote inclusion and mutual respect. Yeah, we read that correctly. Inclusion and mutual respect. But then again, never let a paid-for event be wasted because they also use it to spew propaganda. Here's an article about the same program released in the Gulf News, and it says Iraqi Sesame, Arabic TV show, helps children deal with the health situation anxiety. And then you have some of the characters here on the cover of the story. And so while the concept of educational programming isn't inherently bad, let's not ignore the reality here. Iraq is plagued by corruption, sectarian violence, and weak governance. Do we honestly think taxpayer-funded children's TV show is going to fix anything? I doubt it. And if you thought the other four were absurd, how about $1.5 million for motion sickness experiments using kittens? And clearly this one is beyond sickening. In that same report by Fox News, it says about $1.5 million was spent experimenting how different species, such as young female kittens, respond to motion sickness. The next obvious question is, what exactly does that have to do with anything worth spending taxpayer funds on? Clearly there's more to this story than we'll ever find out. But here's another report here from an investigation where it says NIH-funded lab restrains female kittens and spins them into motion sickness tests. And this goes into more about how they actually did it and all the details of that nature. And of course, this originated from Rand Paul mentioning this last summer, I believe. But just the fact that you see here, $1.5 million was billed to Uncle Sam on behalf of this project here. And so let that sink in. While Americans are told there's not enough money for Social Security, roads, debt reduction, our tax dollars are funding all types of horrific animal experimentations and providing condoms to foreign countries. Whoever even approved of all this craziness should definitely be put in prison. So we'll see how this all plays out as well, because the main point of this is to cut back on all that stupid spending. And so we'll see if this DOGE initiative that's being kicked off by Elon Musk actually lives up to the hype. So their mission is to cut at least $1 trillion from the federal budget and put an end to all this insanity. And so according to reports, DOGE is already saving the government at least $1 billion per day by eliminating unnecessary things, such as new hires, slashing wasteful foreign aid, and killing useless bureaucratic programs. And as of now, it looks like the U.S. debt has even introduced a DOGE clock, which is supposed to calculate and tally up all the savings at this current moment. And so the major targets over the next couple of weeks and months is unused office space. Experts estimate that about thirds of the federal office buildings could be sold off, and 3/4 of leased office spaces could be terminated. So that would not only reduce waste, but also shrink the federal government's massive footprint as well. Of course, the leftists are already gearing up to fight against DOGE in court, trying to protect their bloated government machine. But for now, they're scrambling because this is the fastest start to a presidency in history when it comes to cutting waste. So the bottom line is, this is just the beginning. So if this DOGE continues on its path, we might finally see a federal government that works for the people instead of lighting our tax dollars on fire. So once again, just taking a minute to share with you 5 things I thought was worth bringing to your attention on the type of wasteful spending Uncle Sam has been up to under the Biden regime over the last couple years, and how it's amazing that this stuff is just coming out at this current moment as Trump enters into office and tries to eradicate a lot of that wasteful spending. But as always, don't just pay attention to what everyone says, watch what they're doing. And as of right now, the money printer is still going to be problematic, especially now that the Federal Reserve decided to pause, which to me indicates that they're concerned with inflation spiking back up, which I mentioned before. So once again, protect yourself at all costs from a failing government. And the best way to do that, of course, is with your finances. And that means redeeming some of these paper instruments while they still have purchasing power for something tried, true, and tested. And of course, that's precious metals. And I can't leave you without some possible strategies on how to do that. So if you're interested in getting a hold of 24-karat gold polymer notes, that is the most affordable way to preserve your purchasing power in gold terms, then visit buygoldnotes.com, and it'll take you to this page here where you can actually redeem some of the things that the government can't print or create out of thin air. So once again, go to buygoldnotes.com, get you some, and that's just another way to protect yourself. But anyway, just sharing my 2 cents on this matter. Curious to hear what you thought. If you found value here, definitely hit that thumbs up button. Drop a comment down below. Let me know your thoughts as well as other wasteful government expenditures. And I look forward to bringing you more insight on the next video. Catch you guys later.